This is our trip to the Baltic. Here we are in the airport with a classy canned wine from Modesto, and we're on our way out. This is on the plane where we were seated 5 feet from the bathroom, and on our cruise ship. This is walking through Helsinki. I just like the bat, and this is a planting in Helsinki. This is the little farmer's market in Helsinki that we saw on the Esplanade. And here we are taking a ferry across to a fort called Suomenlinna, which I'm sure I butchered. We are drinking beer at the fort, and then we're walking back through Helsinki, passing this cemetery. And there is the first of our towel animals. Now we're in St. Petersburg at the Europov Palace where Rasputin was murdered. And that is maybe St. Ivan's Cathedral or St. Isaac's Cathedral. There's some souvenirs they're trying to sell us. And here we're taking a little boat trip through the canals and rivers of St. Petersburg. And here we're inside the cathedral. Now we're having lunch at another palace. And I believe that this is in the Hermitage. I like the bat in the picture. There's the Hermitage slightly out of focus. It was incredibly hot. Okay, now we're in the Church of the Spilled Blood, which is entirely covered with mosaics, and this is the outside of the Church of the Spilled Blood. And here we are outside Catherine's summer palace, standing in line. Girl with the red hair is our guide. We had to wear these very attractive overshoes. And here we're inside Catherine's summer palace. This is handmade silk wallpaper. And we're walking around the gardens of the palace. More of the gardens. And still more of the gardens. Standing around outside. Walking through gardens. And that is the palace that Putin uses as home base when he's near St. Petersburg. This is the Peterhof from about 1680 or something. And here we are at the Peterhof. I was still sick at this point, having been sick for 2 days. This is just a random picture of Russia. And this is the church where all of the czars are buried. These are not the tombs of the czars because they don't have the double-headed eagle on them. They're grand dukes. This is the 18-year-old cat that lives in this cathedral. These are two of the little girls. They're the daughters of Saren and Johnny. And here we are in Tallinn in Estonia, where we got out very early looking for coffee and breakfast, and nothing was open. But we went to a grocery store and got very tasty pastries and coffee and sat on the steps of the town hall and ate them. This is a church that's now a museum. We're sitting around waiting for something to open. And here we are sitting around waiting for something to open some more. This is the church that they call the tower that they call Peak in the Kitchen. It has tunnels under it, and the green lit thing is part of the tunnels. And here we are outside looking at the fortifications and drinking beer. And this is another of the churches in Tallinn. Now we're in Riga and in Latvia, and we're having beer and looking at the National Opera and some beautiful gardens that were in the vicinity of it. Riga is smaller than Tallinn, and there seemed to be less to do. It was hard to tell. A church that we had to wait a long time in line for to go in, and the House of the Brethren of the Blackheads, and a grim-looking house outside of Riga that still seemed to be inhabited. So here we are in the archipelago of Stockholm, and we're at the Vasa Museum in Stockholm, looking at the wreck of the Vasa, which sank when it was launched in 1628, and then was laboriously preserved when it was raised in the 1960s. This is Mike in a crow's nest, which was really quite terrifying. And here we're walking out looking for the the museum in Stockholm, the historical museum, and we passed this garden, which was nicely planted. It was by Gustavus Adolphus IV. And here is in the museum in Stockholm. There were rune stones galore. This is a lion from Piraeus near Athens with Nordic runes on it, and here is another rune stone. Here we're drinking beer somewhere in Stockholm, and we saw the palace, which is to the left, and another church, which is to the right. And there's their St. George and the Dragon sculpture, which is quite weird. It has moose horns and horsehair on it. Here's another church where all the kings of Stockholm are buried. And that's about it for the trip. So that's my video. Thanks for watching. Bye.